Hello, everyone. Welcome back to yet another political episode. So, we are back again today, and you probably were just done watching Red Eagle's video. This is basically just a follow up. It's not a secret that we're just a Red Eagle politics ripoff channel. So, we're just gonna I'm gonna cover the same subject. I'm sure we all heard the news, or half of us did, half of us didn't. But Illinois is kind of in a civil war right now. Southern Illinois wants to break off and join Indiana. However, this wasn't really initiated by Southern Illinois, more so Indiana. Indiana lawmakers are looking to take a lot of those Southern Illinois from Illinois in general. Why? Well, to tell you, if Indiana gets their hands on this benefits Republicans greatly, not to mention Southern Illinois is very Republican, and reasons why a lot of those votes, those very Republican votes, they're being exploited because you got Chicago metropolitan area. You got the metropolitan area up there. It's just, and of course, Illinois is a huge gerrymandering state. Now, before we get into Illinois, we got to understand that there are many different states that have made this sort of claim that they wanted parts of different states wants to leave. The biggest example is the Greater Idaho movement, where Eastern Oregon is advocating to secede from Oregon to join Idaho, but there are many others. For example, in Minnesota, western Minnesota, this was back in 2021, South Dakota was pushing to gain Minnesota. And what would this mean electorally? While South Dakota would have gained a lot, first off, when it comes to like eastern Minnesota, rural Minnesota joining South Dakota, but it also means that eastern Minnesota would be a solid Democratic state. You have the whole metropolitan area, and you have Winona, Olmsted County, another big blue county. You got the Iron Range. So, yes, then again, we had this example that was made almost 4 years ago. Of course, Minnesota lawmaker proposes path for counties to join South Dakota. This was big in 2021. But obviously, Minnesota is, of course, a fully concluded state. It's same boundaries. And I don't understand, how would you call yourself South Dakota? There's North Dakota here. You're more western or eastern Dakota or something like that. You might have to go with the name change because you can't really say you're southern anymore. But you can clearly see if this was the path, this would be an example. A Republican Minnesota state representative is introducing legislation that would create a pathway for Minnesota counties to secede from the state and join South Dakota. So Representative Jeremy Munson introduced the bill Thursday and tweeted out an image of his version, which is a little funky map right there, which depicted nearly every county west of the Twin Cities Metro as part of a newly imaged South Dakota. So this is pretty much what Representative Jerry Munson was basically saying. Petition to allow Minnesota counties to join a state that respects freedom and liberty. JeremyMunson.com. This is HF2423 by the Minnesota legislator. Minnesota voters allow counties to leave. Counties vote to join neighboring state. Counties approve. Congress approves. And here's obviously, we know that this didn't succeed. This is 2021. Minnesota is completely intact. But this wasn't obviously the first effort to succeed. We also have New York. In the 2015, 15 towns in Sullivan, Delaware, Broome, and Tioga counties were reported to be looking into seceding from the state of New York and joining the state of Pennsylvania. One reason given for the movement was Governor Andrew Cuomo's move to ban hydraulic fracturing, which is legal in Pennsylvania. So currently, groups of state legislators from Long Island and upstate New York, Sheldon Shriver, New York introduced legislation to gauge support for partitioning the state. The bills were introduced shortly after Sheldon Shriver, who had served as Speaker of the New York State Assembly for two decades and was an ardent opponent of such a petition, was deposed from his post as part of a federal investigation. So this obviously, there was New York. You have New York counties threatening to secede and join Pennsylvania. You have Minnesota counties threatening to secede and joining South Dakota. You also have Greater Oregon, Greater Idaho. What am I saying? Greater Idaho movement, which seems to be the biggest secession movement in the United States today, and which means it somewhat is becoming more successful as the year goes on. But you're basically seeing counties from very blue states threatening to leave and join red states. Now, I'm not saying Pennsylvania in 2015 was labeled a blue state. A year before, it went Republican for the first time since 1988. So, reasons why? I wouldn't say New York County is going to join another blue state would be more political. No, they are just mad about the fracking, okay? And Pennsylvania is a big fracking state, so big labor state. Not to mention those counties listed in the New York secession movement have voted for Obama. So it really wasn't a political issue there, but in Minnesota, political issue. Representative Jerry Munson clearly said that, okay, we need to leave. Let's actually join a state where they respect freedom, that being South Dakota. So weird borders, I get it. There's also Idaho, Eastern Oregon wants to join Idaho, a state that, of course, a red state, breaking away from a blue state. And even parts of Northern California are wanting to join the Greater Idaho movement, which we know Northern California is a very red, solid county. You have county-wide votes in Oregon to secede and join Idaho. You got most counties in the West that are supporting. As of July 2024, 13 counties in Oregon, shown in red, had approved ballot measures in favor of Greater Idaho. So I think out of everything, this would have been the borders of Oregon would change. But we're talking about Indiana, because Indiana is the latest state, or Illinois in this case. Illinois is the latest state to have a break-off of different counties, that being with Indiana, which is obviously saying, hey, look, we want to expand and take over Southern Illinois. Why this is a good idea? Well, it's saying Indiana wants to absorb Illinois wants to absorb 33 counties that voted to secede. Join us. Reasons and why this is a good idea. Well, this will adjust the electoral college map to maybe like Indiana would have 15 electoral votes. It would take away electoral votes from Illinois. We know Illinois is a big state already, and it will still have a lot of electoral votes. But a difference between, let's just say, Indiana is pretty populated also, but the southern part of Illinois is also pretty populated. Has a lot of some minor cities there, so we can go ahead and actually say, what would a greater Indiana look like? A greater Indiana movement look like? So, obviously, seen by the map, you're already seeing that a map was already proposed. But obviously, it would be a very weird map if you just had the 33 counties just join and not many others. It would be a very, very weird map. And that's why I'm saying, okay, there's going to be, if this movement were to take off, then it's probably going to be more than just that. And we're going to have to come to a conclusion. These are the purple counties are the counties that want you to join. I would suggest the border would be the counties below Springfield. Now, I gotta clarify, do you think this is going to happen? No, I don't think this is going to happen. Do I think Greater Idaho is going to happen? I doubt it. Greater Idaho is looking very successful, but that doesn't mean it's going to happen. Now, I've always had negative feelings about these state secession movements. Can they work? Yes. But then again, there's some sort of legal battle that has to happen. Surely, there's going to you have two different parties. You have Illinois, which obviously, being a blue state, they want, and you got also conservatives that are just proud to be Illinoisans regardless. They want to remain to be Illinoisan. And this could result to a constitutional crisis. So let's go ahead. I'm going to call this Illinois, and we're going to take a look at Indiana. So obviously, looking at, but if this were to happen alternatively, which would be very good news for Republicans, would it give them the whole election? No. That's why this is kind of a long stretch just to gain 5 more electoral votes. I mean, we have a better chance at gaining electoral votes in 2030 with the next caucus, with all those blue people leaving the blue states, etc. So we have a better chance at gaining that way. I say this is pretty much a long stretch, and I think this is going to easily end up like Minnesota and New York, where all that just dwindled. But let's just see, there wasn't really such thing as a state border change since, when was the last time borders changed? I believe it was 1863 with West Virginia. So I really doubt, over 100 years ago, almost 200 years ago, have the state borders changed. I'm having a hard time thinking that, yeah, Indiana is totally going to take over southern Illinois. But alternatively, there is, and realistically, there is a sort of, I would say, Ukraine effect. I say Ukraine effect because, in the situation, Donbass, and which consists of Donetsk and Luhansk, the regions in the states in Ukraine, they want to join Russia. Why? Same reason as southern Illinois wants to join Indiana. Politics, right? It does not alienate with the majority of people and their views there. Am I saying Southern Illinois is going to fight a big war over it? No. I don't think that's going to be possible. But if what we're looking at right here, alternatively, and just for funsies, like Red Eagle Politics clearly did, if this were to happen, what would the borders look like? This is a good question. Obviously, the counties in pink are already counties that moved to join Indiana, according to House Bill 108. If passed, Indiana would probably gain like these counties all the way down. I mean, Illinois will lose its border with Missouri, which I'm sure Indiana will become more compatible. Yeah, there's a lot of red counties coming into, but you also have this county right here, very influenced by St. Louis. Is it really populated? I don't know. But this is probably what my proposed borders would look like, according to the secession of counties that want to leave. Okay, so it would kind of look like something like this. It's a little weird. Yeah, but hey, maybe these counties would gain. So yes, and the consequences of this would be Illinois gets more bluer because we got red counties that do give Republicans some momentum, going to Indiana, which is already a red state. Another reason why a lot of conservative Illinoisans may be opposed to this could be because they they possibly see a red Illinois someday. Do I see a red Illinois? No, not right now, unless Pritzker does something really bad. But I do get what they're saying. In order to get a red Illinois, you're gonna need Southern Illinois, and if you don't have Southern Illinois, then you probably have a big problem. Like, take a look at 2014. 2014, you have the former governor, Republican. Whoops, I don't know. Gubernatorial election. You'll see how close it was, despite the Democrat governor literally just winning one county, and that was the Cook County. This is what the election was. Cook County going for Pat Quinn, and he is the governor of Illinois. He took over after Mr. Rod Blagojevich was arrested and charged and thrown into a jail cell. But then again, people believed people didn't like that Pat Quinn was covering for Blagojevich, so they threw Blagojevich. They threw Quinn out and replaced him with the very liberal Republican Bruce Rauner. And it was a close race. I mean, you got Cook County, but Republicans gained everywhere else, even in the Chicago metropolitan area. Even with that, though, it was a close result. Only 50%. This isn't even a landslide. You would say, oh, this is a landslide victory. No, it was pretty close, to be honest. And maybe compared to, let's just say, looking at present day 2022, yeah, it looks more... Southern Illinois is more red compared to what it was back then, and maybe that's why Illinois Republicans are saying, hey, look, if we pick up every county except for Cook, then we're probably winning a mandate, and you probably would. You probably will beat the Democrat by probably 5, but let's be honest. Take a look at Lake, it's 60% Democrat. Cook County, 70% Democrat. Let's be honest. It's going to take a lot for the Republican to actually win Illinois in regards to, okay, you got to do very well in the metropolitan area there. I mean, Lake County is going to be difficult to win. DuPage County, but yeah, I can get why Illinois Republicans are saying, hey, look, we already have a hard time as it is, and the last thing we need is to lose our South. The South, which obviously gives, you see the dark colors here, giving Republicans the momentum they need to go to Indiana. So you could say very divisively, a majority of people down here support leaving Illinois. They have a lot of momentum, the Republican Party, 70 to 80%, in great momentum against Indiana. But you have mainly Republicans up here that are probably going to be against this, guys. Northern Illinois Republicans. They're not going to go, here you go, here's our future. Because without the Southern Illinois, there's probably no future for Illinois Republicans. So they're probably going to be less likely to say, here you go, ship you off, bye, and basically saying goodbye to the future of the Republican Party in Illinois. They're less likely going to do that. So I'm very skeptical. I think Indiana, they're very in favor of this. I think majority of county people in Indiana would support it. I mean, no conflict in the Indiana GOP. But what about Illinois? The GOP in Illinois, I'm sure half of it in the South would love it. But the GOP in the North probably would say no, because we kind of rely on the South to win, right? If we don't have the South, then there is no way we're going to win. Just like I would say, ideally, a reason why this fell apart, not only is the DFL against it, but Minnesota Republicans that are like from the Metro or Eastern Minnesota, Western Minnesota, excuse me, would Eastern, never mind. Eastern Minnesota would be against it also, because then again, we kind of need the west of Minnesota and all these other counties that Jeremy Munson is saying should join South Dakota in order to win. And not to mention, Minnesota is a much easier state to win in compared to Illinois. It's still a difficult state otherwise, but without the West, without all these counties that Jeremy Munson is saying should join South Dakota, the Minnesota GOP doesn't have a future at all, and they already don't have a future because they always lose. But you get what I'm saying. Same deal with Oregon, right? Oregon, although, yes, you got Republicans in the east of the Cascades that says, yes, we need to join Idaho. And then you have Republicans in the west of the Cascades. They're saying no, and they'll vote in with the Democrats in Oregon to kind of preserve Oregon. So there's this is why we're so skeptical when it comes to secession movements in each state. They're very rare and they don't succeed. I'm sure there was a lot of secession movements from New York to Minnesota, Oregon, California. You got Northern California, I want to believe, trying to secede to join Idaho. But yes, but you have all these counties. What about Utah? I want to see if there's a Colorado secession movement to join Utah. Okay, yes, you already have in January 2021 a group in Idaho seeks secession from the state to form their own. Oh yeah, to join Wyoming. Okay, yeah, Wyoming. So you see, there's always going to be these sort of wild and crazy ideas. Colorado wants to join. Group of people want to join an Idaho county and something like a Wyoming county, something like that. And Weld County, which is like county. Yeah, you have very weird border of Weld County, Idaho. Colorado was to join Wyoming. So you got these crazy ideas. I want to believe there was a plan for Vermont counties to secede and join New Hampshire. I think I heard of that. I don't know, but this is what if Weld County. No, Weld County's right here. Never mind. This is a blue county, but yeah, this is what the Wyoming map would look like. Yeah, your maps are getting destroyed, but you could get. Let's see. Okay, I don't think there is one, but I thought I saw. Well, okay. Maybe I'm having some deja vu, but I won't be surprised if a Vermont county like Essex, because that's really the only Republican county, votes to join New Hampshire. And I guess the Republicans of Vermont will probably say, go ahead, we're not winning with you anyway. You can't win an election with only Essex County. Maybe Franklin or Orleans counties, they're getting more moderate. Still, you can't win an election with all those three counties together. So, what do you guys think in regards to the newly found Greater Indiana movement? Let me know down below. And as always, I will see you all in the next political episode.